We've proven the business case for emotion. So I was managing the number one energy drink in the UK called Lucozade. The new flavour has become adopted, but at the time it was a big backlash. Anyway, so the challenge I had was then to relaunch the brand. It was good enough actually to get a huge amount of support actually from the board, and they approved the biggest investment that the company had ever made. We've proven the business case for emotion. So I was in a really difficult situation in my career a few years ago where I was managing the number one energy drink in the UK called Lucozade, and we also had the highest amount of sugar in our drink, and the UK government obviously didn't approve, and introduced a sugar tax, and it was quite a draconian sugar tax. It meant we had to take about 2/3 of the amount of sugar out of the energy drink. Now, sugar is quite important to energy drinks, as you might imagine, right? I mean, there's caffeine and there's other things you can put into, but in this case, it was a glucose energy drink, so sugar was a key ingredient. We had to reformulate. We did the reformulation, and we ended up suffering a big backlash, huge backlash on social media. We lost, I think, 15-20% of our buyers. It was quite dramatic in terms of one way to shrink a brand. It was well up there.
Sorry, the only thing that changed was the sugar.
Well, yes, that's right. So we had to go from, the technicality, we had something like 12 grams of sugar per 100 ml. We had to go down to 4.5 to be within the regulations. Now, the only way you can do that is replace that sugar with sweetener system like aspartame. So we were having to balance off artificial sweeteners with regular glucose. So it's a difficult thing to do, and being able to match the taste. This brand's 80 years old, right? So it's one of those tastes that everybody is familiar with. I mean, maybe like V Energy or something in Australia.
You don't have to tell me. My ex, she was a flavor chemist and still is, and so she's formulating the flavors that goes in the base, and like the minerality of the water even makes a huge difference on the expression of the flavor chemicals. Let alone the acidification and the sugariness. So completely changes everything. So you got to reformulate everything, and it's never the same.
You've got it. And so I mean, we put a huge amount of R&D resource and time and effort and research into doing the reformulation. We could never get a precise match. We got close, and over time, the new flavour has become adopted, but at the time it was a big backlash. Anyway, so the challenge I had was then to relaunch the brand. So I came up with a new positioning, new ad campaign, new sampling, new in-store experience, the whole gamut basically. And I remember that at the time, the CEO at the time said to me, I want you to prove this is going to work before we sign it off, right? And I'm like, mate, we're both marketers. We both know the game here. This is art and science. It's never, like we talked about at the top of the show. No model's perfect here. So I'll find the best one I can. And that's actually when I met System 1, because they're able to predict how people would react in reality. But the thing that they do, which I think is unique, is they actually predict your market share. So because we've got so many validations going back over so many years, we're able to see in different categories the market share change as a result of campaigns that have created certain emotion. We weight it for media, by the way, because media obviously has a huge impact, right? So we adjust for media, but media adjusted, we can actually see the creative impact. So what I did there is I went to the board, and I had the whole relaunch and the campaign and the idea and the creative and everything. And I basically said, look, don't take my word for this. This is the emotional response that this campaign is creating. This is the media impact based on our share of voice. And this is what the model predicts will happen in reality. And actually what it predicted, this is why I'm a big fan of System 1 actually, what it predicted came to pass very, very closely actually. Now, so we'd suffered a decline, and we were trying to recover, and within about 12 months we'd recovered the market share we'd lost, which is what this prediction had suggested. So that was very, very reassuring. When you say those kind of things, people go, yeah, but what about this? What about price? What about promotion? What about distribution? All those things. Of course, the correlation, I think, in that case was about 0.7, right? So it's not perfect. It doesn't explain everything, and it never would. I mean, this is where we have to remember that all models are broken, but some are useful, and that applies here. But the important thing was in marketing, which traditionally is seen as an unaccountable profession, you talk to the factory, they know what they made yesterday, they know the customer service numbers, they know the on time in full delivery to depots, so it is precise. The sales director knows how much did we sell on promotion in Tesco yesterday, at what price did we sell it for. So the other departments on the exec have got very specific KPIs, very measurable, very immediate. As marketing, you're building a brand in the long term. This is sort of the best proxy for an equivalent metric, and it was good enough actually to get a huge amount of support actually from the board, and they approved the biggest investment that the company had ever made. So so it does work in reality.